He was the voice that launched heavy metal into existence. With Black Sabbath, he conjured a new wave of rock and roll. Something no one had heard before. A sound that spoke to the outcasts, the rebels, and the damned. Ozzy Osbourne didn't just break the mold, he lit it on fire, snorted the ashes, and laughed in the face of anyone who told him to calm down. Ozzy's life was a blur of brilliance and bedlam, drug-fueled chaos, bat-biting headlines, near-death experiences, and the unexpected tenderness of a devoted family man. He was exiled and reborn, time and time again. From the ashes of Black Sabbath rose a solo career that defied every expectation. Crazy Train, Mr. Crowley, No More Tears, anthems of pain, power, and prophecy. And just when the world thought they had seen the last of him, he re-emerged for Black Sabbath's farewell show. But on July 22nd, 2025, the voice that had haunted, healed, and hypnotized generations finally fell silent. Ozzy Osbourne died at the age of 76, leaving behind a legacy etched into every corner of rock and roll history.
I used to go out Monday and come back Friday, you know. Then it came the booze, the drugs, and the lifestyle. I mean, it gets tired. Your body starts to tell you, you know, if you don't listen to your body, you're gonna die, you know. I mean, if I wanted to live any longer than I was gonna live, you know, I had to change something. When I was younger, I would think more about dying then than I do now. It's gonna happen eventually, I suppose.
He was called the Prince of Darkness, and he earned it. But to millions, he was something more. Living proof that you could be flawed, reckless, and still leave a mark no one could ignore. John Michael Osbourne was born on December 3rd, 1948, in Birmingham, England, a city still scarred from the bombings of World War II. He grew up in Aston, a tough, working-class neighborhood, crammed into a small two-bedroom home with his parents and 5 siblings. Life was loud, crowded, and often unforgiving. By the time he was a teenager, Osbourne, known simply as Ozzy since primary school, had found a kind of escape in music. At 14, he heard the Beatles' She Loves You for the first time. It hit him like lightning. In that moment, everything changed.
The Beatles. This rock and roll group has taken over as the kingpins of musical appreciation among the younger element. Some music critics call their harmony unmistakably diatonic. Others say it's pandiatomic. Parents say it's just plain pandemonium.
That song, a chart-dominating anthem across the UK and US, didn't just impress him, it gave him direction. It made him believe music could be a way out. But before the stage lights ever found him, there were dark detours. Ozzy left school at 15 and bounced from one dead-end job to the next. Money was short, so were options. Like many in Aston, he turned to petty crime, not out of ambition, but survival. Turns out, Ozzy wasn't much of a criminal. One botched burglary ended with a stolen TV falling on him mid-getaway. In another attempt, he mistakenly grabbed baby clothes in the dark, thinking they were for adults. He was quickly caught, and with no one to bail him out, his father refused to pay the fine as a lesson. Ozzy spent 6 weeks locked up in Winson Green Prison. When he got out, he had no plan, no steady work, no prospects. But he had that one thing, that spark from a Beatles record still burning in his gut. He didn't know how, and he didn't know when, but he knew one thing. He was going to be a rock star. Ozzy Osbourne's path to musical history started with a hand-scrawled note stuck to a wall in a Birmingham music shop. Ozzy Zig needs a gig, has own PA. It wasn't flashy, but it got the job done. That humble ad caught the attention of guitarist Tony Iommi and drummer Bill Ward, who were forming a new blues rock outfit with bassist Geezer Butler. What sealed the deal? Ozzy had something rare and valuable for the time, his own PA system. It wasn't a coincidence. His father, despite the family's financial struggles, had bought it for him. A simple act that Ozzy would later credit as the moment that made everything else possible. If my dad hadn't bought me that PA, Ozzy said, years later, I'd have never gotten in the band. There would have been no Black Sabbath.
None of us wanted to be stuck in factories, that was what we were expected to do. You go to school, you leave at 15, and you go to a factory to work, and we just didn't want to do that. You know, I saw the way my dad was treated, given a fake gold watch after 25 years working. And it was like, you know, he was working for pittance and all these other people earning all the money, and he was getting nothing for what he was doing, and he never missed a day off work because he had 7 kids to bring up. And we just thought, you know, we're not going to do that. Rebel against it.
At first, they called themselves Earth, but by 1969, the band needed something darker, something that matched the eerie, heavy tone they were developing. The turning point came when Ozzy and Geezer wrote a song inspired by occult novelist Dennis Wheatley. It was slow, menacing, and unsettling. They named it Black Sabbath. Across from their rehearsal space, a movie theatre was screening horror films. Geezer wondered aloud, why do people pay to be scared? That question sparked the band's mission. To make music that felt like a horror movie. Music that could make the hair on your neck stand up. Black Sabbath, both the band and the song, were born. On Friday the 13th of February, 1970, they released their debut album, Black Sabbath. It climbed to number 8 in the UK and reached number 23 on the US Billboard 200, where it remained for over a year.
I'll go back to those days, and when we got in them early albums, I thought this will be all right for a couple of years. 50 years, I'm still doing it.
And you credited, obviously, heavy metal, you're always credited with having invented a whole genre, which is...
I don't know whether we invented it. I mean, what turned me on was the Kinks when they You Really Got Me, and it spurned, but then people would make a heavy-duty song and then fall by the wayside, do something different, you know. But I mean, one of the interesting things about those days was a festival wouldn't have all one genre of music. It'd be metal and the Beagles and some of a mixture. But it's like the kids are hardcore fans now. The fan really are what it's all about. the fans make it all work for me. Because we ain't got, I mean, it's just crazy what people do. You know.
The press initially, when you started out, they were a tough crowd. They describe your music as just noise.
Oh, we had that all the time in the early days. It was, it was always, can you turn down, you're too loud, or get off.
Our first showcase, they told us to go away, write some proper songs and learn how to play instruments.
So we did.
Just 4 months later, they followed it up with a second album, Paranoid. Paranoid didn't just solidify their sound, it defined a genre. The album produced some of the most iconic metal tracks of all time. Paranoid, a single written in minutes, became a global anthem. Another track, Iron Man, with its colossal, doom-laden riff, would go on to become one of the most recognizable guitar parts in rock history. The success of Paranoid launched Sabbath across the Atlantic. In America, they toured relentlessly and partied even harder. Hotel rooms were wrecked, bottles were emptied. Weed, acid, and cocaine flowed freely. And at the center of it all was Ozzy, unpredictable, electric, and completely unfiltered. With each album came more money, and with more money came more chaos. By the late 70s, the cracks were impossible to ignore. The partying became less fun and more destructive. Ozzy's drug use outpaced the rest of the band. Tensions between him and Iommi boiled over. In 1979, it all came to a head. Tony Iommi pushed for Ozzy's removal, citing his unreliability and drug-fueled spiral. Geezer and Bill agreed. Just like that, Ozzy was out of the band he helped create. Devastated, he locked himself away in a Los Angeles hotel room, disappearing into a fog of booze and £96,000 worth of cocaine. He assumed it was over, that he'd burned it all to the ground. But fate wasn't finished with him yet. Soon after, he was signed to Jet Records, a move that would launch the next chapter of his career, and one of the greatest comebacks in rock history. Ozzy wasn't done just yet, not even close. After months of self-destruction and isolation, he clawed his way back, this time as a solo artist. With the help of young guitar virtuoso Randy Rhoads, bassist Bob Daisley, and drummer Lee Kerslake, he recorded what would become his breakthrough solo album, Blizzard of Oz. The record exploded onto the scene and featured what would go on to be one of the most iconic rock anthems of all time, Crazy Train, a song that captured everything Ozzy was. Ozzy Osbourne first met Sharon Arden under less than romantic circumstances. She was the daughter of Don Arden, the music executive who had just signed Ozzy to Jet Records. When Don sent Sharon to Los Angeles to look after Ozzy's needs, whatever they were, she wasn't exactly thrilled. Ozzy was a mess, but there was something about him. A spark, a sadness, a raw kind of charm. At first, things were strictly business. Just two people trying to keep a career from crashing. But by 1980, their working relationship had evolved into something deeper. In 1982, Ozzy and Sharon got married. They didn't waste time starting a family. Amy Osbourne was born in 1983, followed by Kelly in 1984 and Jack in 1985. Ozzy loved his children, but he was never built for stability. Years of drug and alcohol abuse made him unreliable, erratic, and often emotionally absent.
In England at that time, in the early 80s, nobody knew what alcoholism was. It wasn't, it was just a bloke that went out and had a good old drink with his mates and came home and beat the shit out of his wife, and it was like accepted behaviour, really.
Touring only added to the distance. His highs were sky high, and his lows were dangerous. On stage, he was a spectacle. Off stage, he was even more unpredictable. There was the now infamous boardroom incident where he bit the head off a dove in front of stunned executives. And of course, the bat, which he bit on stage, thinking it was a prop.
What actually happened was I get a lot of weird people at my concerts, like, it's kind of rock and roll, And somebody threw a bat on stage, and I thought it was one of these toy bats. So I picked it up, bite the thing's head off, and suddenly everybody's freaking out because it's a real bat, because, like, on the stage set, like, the bat goes, like, asleep when the lights go on it. So.
So it was, for all practical purposes, a toy bat.
Yeah, but I can assure you the rabies shots that I went through afterwards aren't fun.
No.
These outrageous moments cemented Ozzy's image as rock and roll's ultimate wild card. Even Mötley Crüe, known for their own insane antics, said Ozzy was on another level entirely. But the years of excess were catching up. His speech began to slur. His body slowed down. The drugs were no longer recreational. They were simply survival. In 2002, Ozzy's world was dragged into the mainstream spotlight. MTV launched The Osbournes, a reality show featuring Ozzy, Sharon, Kelly, and Jack, pulling back the curtain on their chaotic home life.
If you'd have said to me 2-3 years ago, this is what's going to happen, I would never have believed it. I mean, the Osbournes TV show, the reality thing, was just primarily an experiment that went crazy. You could never plan what the Osbourne shows achieved. I mean, I was quite settled in the belief that I would do the Ozfest and I would retire eventually when I don't want to see me anymore out there, and be hopefully remembered in the rock and roll history books. Suddenly, all of a sudden, this TV thing takes over and it literally shot us into the stratosphere. I mean, now I find it very difficult to go anywhere, because I end up signing 8,000 million orders everywhere I go, which I don't mind doing, but when you're in a hurry,
It became a cultural phenomenon, the highest rated show in MTV history at the time.
It's strange, because if you think about it, just a show kind of happened on accident, created a whole new genre of, I guess, reality TV, and it was for the most part, it was kind of an accident. We ended up having a meeting with MTV about them just working with Kelly and I, and then by the end of this meeting, my mom had this idea. She just voiced it during the meeting, and it turned out, it was the Osbournes, and 4 months later we were filming, and kind of all went from there, and it was so just, oh, so we're doing it now, all right, fine, kind of thing. And it was crazy, but, you know, it was probably one of the most interesting times of my life, to say, you know, and I'm glad I did it. You know, it's good to have, you know, documented history of your, you know, of your adolescent.
Yeah, definitely. You can't hide from anything.
Exactly, you know, and it's kind of like a diary almost.
But not everything made it to air. Jack later admitted that hours of footage had to be cut.
I didn't like being on TV. Anyway, my ego did for about 5 minutes, but then it got old very quick. And I think, you know, once you start, gotta be careful what you experiment with, because sometimes it takes off, you know. And I didn't. It was, at the beginning with the Osbournes, it was like an extended version of Cribs. But then I began to get like camera shot. When you got a camera crew living in your house all the time, but now from that to this, what's on now, like, Hollywood reality and real reality is completely different.
The truth was darker than what audiences saw. Ozzy's addictions were so raw, so brutal, that airing it all would have pushed the show past entertainment into something much more disturbing.
This one night, I'm downstairs reading in our lounge, and Ozzy comes in just in his underpants, and he had that look on his face. It's kind of, there's no emotion in the eyes, and when you would talk to him, it was like the shutter was down. And then he just lunged on me and got me round the neck and was just strangling, and I'm like, oh shit. The only thing I could think of was the kids. Oh my God, I've just, you know, got to get him off me. And I just couldn't get him off me. I've felt an emergency button for the alarm system, and I just pressed it, and it was really, really loud alarm system that we had, and it kind of frightened him, and he got off me. And then I couldn't run, I couldn't get up. I was just really, really in shock. I mean, I'd like, you know, peed myself the whole 9 yards. It terrified him, and it made him realize how sick he was. You know, it's like they say to you, you know, it's either you'll end up insane, dead, or, you know, with nothing. And Ozzy had nothing.
Behind the scenes, things got even worse. When Sharon was diagnosed with cancer, Ozzy unraveled. He locked himself in his room for days, binging on booze, pills, and hard drugs. Prescribed medication for anxiety only added to the chemical cocktail already running through his system. Then, in 2003, came the near-death moment. Ozzy crashed an ATV on the grounds of his estate outside London. Some of the aftermath was caught on camera by the reality show's crew. Ozzy, unconscious, lying twisted beside the wreck.
Ozzy, can you breathe? Got the keys. Don't worry, just take one of the bikes. Ozzy, can you breathe? Ozzy. Someone get back and get an ambulance. Get an ambulance to the house.
The accident was serious, life-threatening. He broke his collarbone, fractured 8 ribs, and damaged a vertebra in his neck.
He was rushed to the local NHS hospital, where surgeons had to operate to reconstruct a broken collarbone, which was stopping the blood supply to his arm. He'd also cracked a vertebra in his neck and broken 8 ribs. But doctors this afternoon said he was now being slowly taken off the ventilator.
He was in theatre. The emergency anesthetic and surgical team repaired the blood vessel and re-established the blood supply to the left hand and arm. The left collarbone was then reconstructed, and he was taken to the intensive care unit, where he spent the night comfortably.
Tonight it seems Ozzy's on the mend, but his injuries have clearly taken their toll on his wife Sharon, herself in remission from cancer. She looked drained after visiting him in hospital in Slough this evening.
Ozzy is doing as definitely as well as can be expected, and he's very settled today. And you know, it's just a long process There was no damage to his vocal cords. He has no damage at that part of his body at all.
So his fans can expect him, hopefully, to be up and singing
Very soon.
very soon.
I suppose it's all part of life, and it's what other people go through as well. You know, we've got so much so good, but you also have bad things happen. It can't be good all the time.
Along with son Jack's well-publicised drinking problems, though, it's the end of a tough year for the family.
Years of reckless living, constant touring, addiction, and self-destruction had brought him to the brink. That chaos didn't stop with him. It echoed through his family. Both Jack and Kelly would go on to face their own battles with addiction, growing up in an environment where substance abuse was part of daily life. In many ways, they inherited the fight Ozzy never fully escaped.
You talk about your problems with drinking drugs a lot in the book, and you start off by saying that you think that the influence of your parents' lifestyle, your dad in particular, kind of influenced you, and as a kid you naturally imitate what your parents have done. But you don't seem to anywhere in the book kind of blame them or have any anger towards your parents' lifestyle and how that affected you. Why is that?
I don't think I should. I don't think there's any need for any anger, because you make your own decisions in life. Your parents kind of just give you guidelines, and I never at one time say that they never were good parents. I just chose to walk down that road myself. So I'm the one to blame at the end of the day. They tried their best and they did everything they could, but make your own destiny essentially.
Definitely. At your lowest point, what sort of drugs were you taking? What sort of amounts are we talking about here? What would be your daily routine at your lowest point?
It was a lot of things. I mean, I talk about taking this pharmaceutical drug they have in America called Oxycontin, and I was taking them whenever I could. Sometimes it was like 80 milligrams a day. Others it was like 200 to 300 milligrams a day. So it was take what you get your hands on kind of thing. And drinking was all day, as well as smoking pot and everything. So it was pretty full on. Full-time job, really.
Oh, indeed. Tell us a bit about the tipping point. Like, what actually made you realise that you need to get help, and obviously your parents intervened as well.
It can happen in like these stages where, one time I was literally just sat on my couch one morning, and I was just like, I can't do this. And then I went and told my mum that I needed to get myself sorted out, and she's like, all right, we'll get this taken care of. And then I went back to my bedroom and had a couple drinks, went back and was like, I'm fine, and it kind of slowly started to pick up pace with me realizing that I needed to sort myself out, till eventually my mum caught wind about how bad I really was, and she tried to get me to go to treatment, and I ran away for like a weekend, and just had to have that last hurrah, and then came back and was like, I just pretty much just done. I don't really have much left in me, and I was pretty convinced that I wasn't going to make it through the summer. So I was like, all right, let's get this done.
How typical do you think your experience is of celebrity kids growing up in the limelight like that?
I can only talk from my experience. And it's, drug abuse in kind of young Hollywood is pretty prevalent. It's a coping mechanism. You give a kid a lot of money and a lot of attention, and and you tell them they can do whatever they want whenever they want. Tend to abuse that for the worse more so than the good. With that comes a lot of drugs.
Now, is it harder to get inspiration these days after so many years in the business?
Well, when I used to drink alcohol and take drugs, I used to think that made me creative. And I had to come to a decision in my mind. I mean, look, you go to a bar, a party, whatever, there's no music, you're going to sit there like idiots, But music's a part of getting loaded, So I thought, well, if I can't do it, I've got a choice. I'm going to either drink and get loaded again or find another way. And what I had to succumb to, I had to let my producer or people around me make suggestions, and accept this. It's not an easy thing to do, because I'm a control freak. I like to do it all my, have the last say and everything. But, you know, I'm not always right, and I had to say, you know, I've got to, if this means me getting loaded again, because to be honest with you, when I was getting loaded, it wasn't fun anymore, it was just like a drag, you know, and if that gets like, why do I want to do it? But I had to make a few changes in my life with letting people into my world, you know.
Like most battles with addiction, Ozzy Osbourne's road to sobriety was anything but straight. Throughout his time with Black Sabbath, and well into his solo career, rehab became a revolving door, in and out, again and again.
I mean, if I wanted to live any longer than I was going to live, you know, I had to change something. It just came. I mean, the first thing I stopped was smoking cigarettes because I'd go, well, I'm a singer. He's like a soccer player kicking the wall all day long, you know. He wonders why his legs are hurting when he's playing soccer. But that was the first thing, which I've been in various rehabs over the years, and a lot of people in the rehab say, you know, I could quit this, but I couldn't put the cigarettes down. That was the first thing I quit. I never had any craving. I just stopped. Then came the booze, the drugs, and the lifestyle. I mean, it gets tiring. Your body starts to tell you, you know, if you don't listen to your body, you're gonna die, you know. I wanted to see my kids get married and have families, you know.
There were stretches of sobriety, brief respites from the chaos. But the pull of old habits was always strong. In the mid-2000s, Ozzy managed to stay clean for a solid stretch. It seemed, for a while, that he'd finally turned a corner. But in 2013, he publicly admitted in a Facebook post that he had relapsed, drinking and using drugs again for over a year. He described that period as a dark place and issued a heartfelt apology to his family, friends, and fans. It was a wake-up call, one of many. Sharon, who had long been his anchor through the chaos, had moved out of their home during this relapse. That, Ozzy later said, was the shock he needed. The fear of losing her finally pushed him to confront his addiction again.
And that's why I clean my act, because I'm a fat slob, I'm unfit, I'm smoking 8 packs a day, I'm taking drugs, I'm drinking alcohol. That's disrespectful for them.
Sharon didn't sugarcoat things. She never had. She maintained a strict zero-tolerance stance when it came to his substance use. She held him accountable, called him out, and refused to enable the behavior, even when it meant walking away.
When I was younger, I'd think more about dying then than I do now. So I don't do that much wrong anymore. I come home at night. I used to go out Monday and come back Friday, you know. But you can't sustain a lifestyle. On rare occasions, people can smoke 8 packs a day and drink or whatever. Not many do last. I just got fed up with it, you know. So did my wife and the kids. They got fed up with it before I did.
But now you're a keep fit person.
I work out nearly every day. It's because if I want to continue, I've got to, it's like an athlete, you know. My drummer Tommy, he gets up every morning and works out, and he gets up, works out, plays his kit every day. I mean, it's what you've got to do for the family. So I think if you just let yourself go, it's a lack of respect for the family, because they've stood out. I look at it this way, you know. These fans have got mundane jobs, but they put their pennies and halfpennies to buy a ticket. But the least you can do is be sober on stage and try and give them a good show. Because without them, you can be drunk all day long. You ain't got a career.
During his worst periods, Ozzy would often wake up soaked in urine, blood or vomit, with no memory of what had happened. That kind of self-destruction wasn't sustainable. It wasn't even survival. It was a slow-motion collapse. He knew something had to change. If the music, the fame, or even his children couldn't keep him sober, maybe the threat of losing everything else finally could.
Let me hear you Carry me back from Cali. No more tears.
In February 2019, Ozzy Osbourne was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a long-term degenerative disorder affecting the central nervous system. He kept the news private at first, choosing to face the reality in his own time. Nearly a year later, in January 2020, he went public with the diagnosis. By then, the signs were starting to show. He had already been forced to cancel his entire 2019 tour following a serious fall at home that aggravated old injuries. Then came the cancellation of his 2020 North American tour as he sought advanced treatment in Switzerland. For Ozzy, leaving the stage meant more than cancelling shows. It meant losing the part of himself that thrived in front of a crowd. Performing live had always been at the centre of his life. There was never a night, not one, where Ozzy didn't feel the pull of the crowd, the roar of tens of thousands of fans, the lights, the chaos. That was his fuel.
I have the greatest respect for the true fans. We get people who want to sign a pile of albums and they'll sell on eBay, but they're not fans. But the real fans, you can't, I mean, to look at you would think they're yobs, but they're great people. It's just like they've been there forever for me. And now it's like fathers, sons and sons. I mean, when I was a kid, if my dad would have said to me, oh, come and see this band or this guy, I'd have gone, just because he liked it, I'd have gone, no way. It's great.
What would you say to those fans that have stuck with you through the highs and the lows?
The bottom of the line is, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be sitting in this house now. I wouldn't be talking to you. They're so loyal. I mean, you can imagine in 50 years what's come and gone. You know, it's just remarkable. They're there, come round, whatever, they're there.
Do you think you've put your fans through a lot?
No, I mean, it's a two-way street. I mean, I'll go on that stage with the intentions of making their lives worth living, you know. A true fan, you can't buy that. They're not loyal as anything.
Losing that, even temporarily, was devastating. In an emotional interview on Good Morning America, Ozzy and Sharon opened up about the diagnosis. With characteristic defiance, they made one thing clear. He wasn't finished.
It just means so much to him what he does. He loves to perform. It is the air that he breathes, and this is the longest he's ever been home. And it's time for him to get back on the road because he's driving me mad. So,
that's my drug today. Don't all the other crap. Left out by the wayside, survived that. And I ain't gone yet. I ain't gonna go anywhere yet.
And when the time came, he'd be back on that stage. Because no matter what life threw at him, addiction, injury, disease, Ozzy Osbourne wasn't built to fade away quietly.
You're going to turn 70 this year.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Well, I mean, I don't know, maybe 15 or 40, I don't know. I used to say when I was in my 20s, I'll be dead by 40. That was okay till I was 39 3/4. Maybe I'm going to stick around a bit longer.
So, it's a milestone age.
Well, I got no choice. I mean, I don't want to stop being 70. But you know what? Things go faster as you get older. Time is unbelievable. I mean, the end comes to us all eventually. But I'm enjoying it while I can.
Despite his health struggles, Ozzy remained creatively active throughout the early 2020s. He released 2 new solo albums, Ordinary Man in 2020 and Patient Number 9 in 2022. Both were met with strong critical and fan support, with the latter winning Best Rock Album at the 65th Annual Grammy Awards in 2023. Even as his physical condition declined, his voice and presence in the studio stayed sharp. Collaborators included familiar names and rock legends, a testament to the respect he still commanded across generations. Though he could no longer tour the way he once did, Ozzy made a few public appearances. One of the most notable came in 2022, when he performed at the closing ceremony of the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, his hometown. It was a brief set, but for fans, seeing him back on stage, even for a moment, was powerful. Behind the scenes, his health continued to deteriorate. Alongside Parkinson's disease, years of accumulated injuries and surgeries made mobility increasingly difficult. He spoke openly about his frustrations, not with aging, but with being held back from doing what he loved.
Oh God, it's been 6 years of constant pain for Ozzy, physical pain, 6 years of it. And you never learn to live with it. You can't learn to live with that physical pain.
Still, he remained involved in music, family, and public life in whatever way he could. In a moment no one expected to happen, and that many thought never could, Black Sabbath reunited for a short, intimate farewell tour in mid-2025.
Ozzy's one regret for everything that's happened to him in the last 6 years was he said he never got a chance to say thank you to his fans. And here we are. He's going to say thank you. He's going to give back to the city with his brothers who are Sabbath. And so it's the perfect farewell. And, you know, all his friends, all of Sabbath's friends are here to support them. And it's just an amazing that, you know, to say goodbye with your friends and your brothers, it's, you couldn't ask for anything more, and to do it at Villa, where he was born and brought up.
Stripped down and emotional, it wasn't about spectacle or production. It was about closing the circle. Ozzy, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward took the stage one last time, offering fans a final glimpse of the band that had changed music forever. For Ozzy, it was a homecoming, a way to say goodbye on his own terms. But just weeks later, he was gone. Ozzy Osbourne died on July 22nd, 2025, at the age of 76. The announcement was met with an outpouring of grief and celebration. Tributes poured in from across the globe. Artists, fans, and fellow misfits honored the man who had never pretended to be anything other than who he was.
But yeah, it meant everything to him. It was this is what we built up for that big ending where he could see all the people, and we could all see all the people, and close it in that way, you know. But we didn't expect to close it so quick with Oz. We didn't expect him to go, you know, that quick, really. Or we didn't expect him to go. So it's been a shock.
The man was a born entertainer. Fantastic person. Just sorry to see him go.
I was lucky enough to be at the show, and that was so moving, just the most emotional day and a celebration of life. And I just felt like being here in person, knowing that he got to see all around him, everyone loved him. Normally tributes are done after they're gone, so to have it here, he's come home with everyone that he loves all around him, his friends, family and the fans, and we all had a chance to say bye.
He was such a figurehead and inspiration for the whole community of Birmingham, you know, and there's very few people out there who are instantly as recognisable as he is.
For anybody that's grown up in this city, Ozzy is kind of an anti-hero, but he represents a lot of the working class values that the city is known for, that kind of industrial, post-industrial. And Ozzy was a boy who made good. You know, he really did. He flitted from job to job, and then went on to front one of the biggest bands in the world and define a whole genre and culture. So we're all clearly in awe of the impact that he's had on the city, and it's a very sad, devastating loss. But didn't he achieve so much in his life?
I like to remember him as being somebody who was the frontman of a band that created a musical genre, an endearing musical genre that goes through the decades, goes through the generations, and is massively influential, you know. So somewhere in the world right now, there's a whole bunch of teenage bands listen to Black Sabbath, early records, trying to work out how they got that incredible sound. To this day, you know, I think there'll be one of those bands, like the Beatles, like the Who, whatever, they'll be eternally influential. And that's how I like to remember as being a really great singer and a great artist. He didn't necessarily write the music, but his vocals and his presence defined those songs.
Yeah, I'd remember him as, it was always funny. Ozzy was Ozzy. There's never going to be another Ozzy. He's the only one that's one Ozzy, and that's it.
In his final years, he had often said that music saved his life, more than once. And though his body eventually gave out, the voice, the attitude, and the legacy remained. Ozzy Osbourne lived louder, fought harder, and stayed stranger than almost anyone else in rock history. Through every era of his life, one thing stayed constant. He lived for the music, he lived for the fans, and in the end, he gave everything he had to both. His voice, his legacy, and his influence will echo on in every riff, every scream, and every misfit kid who dares to be loud, weird, and fearless.